All right, so if you have already watched the front nine, you'll know that I am sitting at 5 over. And if you haven't, go back, watch the front nine, and then join us back here. Hole 10 is a 368-foot par 3 that plays out into the field to the right of the trees. You could get risky and try and go under through that gap between the trees, and the basket is actually way in the back there. Got slightly worried that I had turned the Wraith all the way over. Thankfully it did start to fight back and should have a pretty clear shot for the upshot. Like I suspected, right out in the fairway, have left myself a fairly open shot. Just gonna try and get this one close and walk away with the par. Ideally would have liked to have been on the other side of that log. A little low, needed to be a little higher, would have crashed right down at the bottom of the basket, but that still should be a very makeable putt. Definitely not the ideal spot. Really thought I would have been right over there. Slightly uncomfortable stance. Hole 11 is a 255-foot par 3 that plays out across the field and into the basket in the opening. So I felt a decent amount of headwind, it felt like, on that. So I put what felt like a lot of hyzer on it, flipped it up, and it is dead center of the gap. A little short, but right on line with the basket. So I've left myself with about a 18-footer for birdie. Slight headwind, so I'm going to try and keep this one a little low. After hole 11, you're going to want to make sure you pay attention to the sign that leads you to hole 30, which is where the continuation of the J South layout goes. Hole 30 is a 288-foot par 3 that plays across the field and into that little opening. Whew, threaded the needle there. I usually always end up hitting one of those branches there. I just cannot seem to keep this drive low enough. Definitely threaded the needle between everything there. It's a little short, but there might be a clean hyzer look at it. So I am definitely a little shorter than I had originally thought. Right here, there is definitely still somewhat of a hyzer look at it. With being in circle 2, I'm going to give this a step putt and hopefully make it. If not, at least stay fairly close. Never even came close on that one. I think I was at about the edge of circle 2 probably, just by looking at how far out the little feathers are, but stayed close enough for a tap-in par. Another cleaned up par. Hole 31 is a 264-foot par 3 that plays to the basket at the center of the screen. There is either the right hand backhand line there or the right hand forehand line there, but either way you are trying to get to the basket that is up on the rock. That looked like it hit in circle one and was actually starting to skip up towards the basket. Ended up hitting a tree. I'm not sure where it ended up going after that. It was skipping up towards the basket. Not quite sure if it hit that tree or the tree over here, but it was definitely heading up somewhere. Dropped down still in circle one. Left with this for the birdie. One of these days I will ace this hole. It's going to happen. Hole number 32 is a 260-foot par 3 that plays through that tight gap at the center of the screen, and you can just see the basket right there. There is also a slightly wider gap if you're looking for something to hyzer out towards the basket. I'm going to try and go through the slightly wider gap. A little too wide, ended up catching the tree. Looked like it was on a nice path to at least make the opening down by the basket. Unfortunately, it did not make it through and ended up kicking off to the left. Luckily, it ended up actually kicking right to the opening of that original fairway. So there is still a chance to save the par. Probably should have just taken a forehand or slowed down and actually taken my time on the approach shot. Thankfully, there's no real obstruction on the putt, and it is within circle one. Try and put this away to save the par. Hole 33 is a 295-foot par 3 that plays through the fairway to that basket right there. Not get quite the pull on that I wanted to. Had the right flight, just not enough on it to where it ended up hyzering out way earlier than I really would have liked to see. This is where I am. The basket is still up and around the corner. I'm gonna try and just take something with my zone and get it high enough that it spikes by the basket. It's a little farther out than I'd really wanted it to be, but definitely within makeable putt range to save par. And to save another par, hole 34 is a 553-foot par 4 that goes down past the basketball and tennis courts that you see to the right, and the basket is tucked back there a decent ways. The courts do play as OB. So that did not flip up as much as I was really hoping to. Usually I'll take the hyzer flip forehand, get it to flip up, and usually I want to end straight down by the opening in the trees to the left of the tennis court. So you can see my disc straight ahead, and you might just be able to see the yellow of the band of the basket through the actual courts. From here, I'm going to go with the thumber of my Venom because it'll swoop this way and then should pan back towards the basket. I'm going to just go right up and over. That looks like it caught the trees right at the opening and should be set up right at the mouth of the entrance towards the basket. Like I had thought, caught the trees right up here, ended up, I can see that the disc landed right there. So this is what I have. I'm right in the mouth of the actual opening. It is a circle 2 putt, and as a hyzer putter, there is a little bit of a tree there. I'm gonna give this a good go. and see if we can capitalize on the birdie here. Just like that, a little bit of ante on that, and that hit what looked like center chains perfectly on the pole from here. That's a great birdie to get. Hole 35 is a 278-foot par 3 that plays through the trees straight ahead and then finishes decently off to the right. So that was a little bit further inside than I wanted. Was able to just get a little bit of a kiss off that tree to push me out enough to avoid the small tree behind it and make it a little bit around the corner. I'm gonna still try and give this one a little bit of a run and hopefully not go too far long if we miss. Not really what I was looking for. Thankfully did not go behind that tree. Should be a easy par to save. All right, so here we are. We are on hole 36, which is the last hole of the J South layout. It is a 650-foot par 4 that plays through this gap, and ideally you want to make the gap, get up on top of the hill and finish to the left to set yourself up for your next big shot. So it looked like I was on the line I wanted to be on, just did not fade out in time, caught a tree. Not quite sure what I'm going to be dealing with from there. As you can see, right there is what I've got up ahead of me. So I'm just going to try and hit the fairway and get it as far down it as I can. Didn't get quite as much flip up as I wanted. Definitely did flip up some before it faded out. Not the best run up, so I'm really not upset with it. Made progress down the fairway, hit a tree. Have to see what that looks like. So I think honestly after 2 shots, I've made it decently far down the fairway for not having the best first shot. My disc is right there at the bottom of the screen, the green dot, and you can see the basket up ahead on top of the rock. It's definitely not the easiest line, that's for sure. I'm gonna try and take my meteor and get a little flip up and just see how far down there I can push. Ideally, I don't hit anything until the very end, but that's asking for a lot right here. Just inside that tree is where I really wanted to be, expecting it to turn over a little bit more. Unfortunate, a second bad shot on this hole. Definitely puts the par at a very, very, very low percentage with it being a par 4. Hopefully I can at least save the bogey. That was definitely not what I was looking for on that shot. You can't really see my disc, but I ended up right here. Really wanted to just push the outside of that and have enough distance to get down to the basket. Oh, I really like that line. So I finally made it to circle 2. Unfortunately, this is what I've got left for double bogey. So it's looking like a probable +3 at least on the last hole. Definitely not where I want to be. Unfortunate. I feel like on the back I've definitely been playing much better than I did on the front. Had to give it a go. Hopefully it stayed at least close enough to put that one away for the triple. Like I said, it's really unfortunate because I was definitely playing better on the back than on the front, but it's hole 36. A lot of things can go bad on this hole. And here we go. Try and stop the bleeding. Not the worst round I've had by any means. I'll have to tally up the scores, but it was feeling good. Like I said, unfortunate ending. It could happen. Thanks for watching.